our culture switched. And like when I was growing up, I used to want to be like Felicia Rashad. I remember Maya Angelou, she told me she was proud of me for what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, like that was a big deal to me, right? Because I looked up to women that were older. But at this point, older women want to be younger,
Yep.
right? So you have 40-year-old women and 46-year-old women trying to look like and act like the 23-year-old. Then how do you know? Because when you're young, you don't think there's consequences, right?
Yeah.
The only way you know there's consequences is someone, like you said, an OG pulls you to the side and is like, look. So I feel like the problem is in our culture specifically, like we don't value experience and age. Like I look to those women for what I want it to be. But there's nobody like that now. Like now, I mean, there are some. There's some amazing, but really the culture is chasing youth, so it's like backwards. The older women want to
Yep.
be young. That's the only thing. Like, there are women, and I'm not. This is no disrespect, but no women in their 60s getting BBLs. Like,
That's
what
crazy,
is
right?
happening? What are we doing? So, how can a woman who's 23 trust your leadership if you're trying to look like her? Felicia Rashad wasn't trying to look like I was trying to look like I was trying to be like her. But if she was on the stage with, her butt out and trying to look like me, then I wouldn't have respected her. So I feel like we don't, of course there's people don't believe there's consequences because the older people are lying. They're
Yep. Yep.
lying. They're lying. They're chasing the same thing. So you have rappers in their 40s and 50s getting into beef with Kodak Black. Like that makes no sense. There should be like in order to lead, you have to lead by example.
Yeah.
And to me, everybody is chasing the younger culture, which makes them disrespect. Why would I look at you? You want to be like me.
Well, I think another thing is, and I take the accountability for the men, and I hate that I have to do that right now. But there's a lot of older men that want to be young,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And a lot of times it's the ones I would say
Mhm.
that aren't married.
It
And
always.
so now they want to be young so they can get the young
women.
girl, right? And now you have the older women
Mhm.
who want to look young because the one in her age group is looking at the younger girl and dressing young and
Yeah.
damn near acting young,
Acting young. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, at what point are we going to have people that want to actually be a real community role model?
Well, I think it takes, like I said earlier, like I know I'm going to say something that your audience is not going to like. And that's okay.
That's
I'm
beautiful.
okay with them not liking it because I know I'm right. You know what I mean? Because I've already lived that and I've lived that and I've seen it. So I know, but I think we have to be okay. This cancel culture and people feeling like they have to placate what's popular is a problem. People know, but they're just quiet. And you're right. There is like for hip hop, that is one thing I can say I really do appreciate about Jay-Z is he did show his maturity. Maturation is a beautiful thing. But unfortunately for women, there's very few examples of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're wearing the same get up that you were in your 20s and you're acting the same, that's a problem. You know what I mean? So I think that and I feel like that's a part of what I have to do. I have to say, that's not, it doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't make you a boss to have sex with all these guys. And if you get mad at me, that's okay. But at least I planted that seed because that's what I'm supposed to do. Just like when I was younger watching Claire Huxtable, she was just fly, but she also was not saying the same thing that I was thinking when I was watching it. She was leading by example. I might not have agreed with it, but now that I'm older, I get it. So I think that you have to, our culture has to embrace that. And I think people that are older, we have to be brave enough to make young people mad.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, Carisha, please, that's a whole like I'm not gonna agree with her. She's not gonna agree with me. And that's how it should be. If I did agree with Carisha, what the hell have I been doing for these 20 years? If I haven't grown, we should not agree, right? So, but I know people my age that want to cater to that. It's like, ooh, and I'm like, girl, that makes that's a city. Like I can't be. I'm not a girl.
50 years old.
But that's a problem.
I'm not a girl. I'm a woman.
I'm a woman, but that's a problem. The problem is we don't want to piss them off because they're louder, but they need us.
Yep.
They need us. And if they don't agree, my daughter didn't agree when I told her that she couldn't wear certain things to school, but my daughter is 28 years old now and she gets what I was saying. You know what I mean? So, but if I was saying the same things that she was, I would, my grandmother used to always say, it's nothing worse than being old for no reason. And there are a lot of people in our culture that are old for no reason, just old. Now you just look worse. Because
with a platform.
With a platform, it's like no matter what a woman does that is in her 50s, you could be gorgeous. You're still not in your 20s, and you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, because you have the maturity and the wisdom, and you're supposed to be able to take them under your wing and say, "Girl, I got you." And you have so many more opportunities. I can add my wisdom to that and help you push you forward.
Why do you think? All right, so obviously addiction is like a drug, right? I mean, not addiction.
Attention.
Attention is a drug, right? But why is it so, I guess, addictive to the point where you're like, you don't want to grow? You know what I'm saying? Like what about it makes you not want to say, okay, it's time for me to go to the next level in my life? Or, let me go to the bigger step, the bigger picture, which actually has more money, because you know what I
More
mean?
money, but there are a lot of people that are driven by. There are a lot of people that would rather be popular than rich. Like, really, like, I know that from working with celebrities. Like, some of them, if you say, I'm going to give you $50,000, or I'm going to give you a brand deal that puts you on billboards across the country, they would pick that because they get addicted to people seeing them and recognizing them. That has more value to them than actually the money. I also want to be honest, because it's a different, like I told you earlier, that power of feeling like a man's attracted to you. It feels good, right? And I think the same thing with men. A man wants to know that that he can catch, that he can hunt, and he can get that, and he can capture and take it back. A woman wants to know that she can show up in all her feminine glory and be attractive and desirable. And as you age, it changes, right? And it's a little daunting because it's different. So I know I love my husband to death, and I know that he loves me. But when I go out, I have a different response than I did when I went out in my 20s. And I have and sometimes that can get to you. It's like, man, I used to be, and that changed a little bit, right? But you have to know that it's different levels. And when I see my daughter doing that, I'm like, okay, it's kind of like in The Lion King when Mufasa was like, the sun has set on my time. Now the sun is on your time. Like, you have to know when it's time for you to go to that next place. But I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't. It is a little bit like it's any type of growth is uncomfortable. So you have to be willing to go through that. And I think you also have to see value in yourself. And if your only value has been in being attractive, if you've never focused on anything other than getting men's attention, then you're going to have a hard time getting older.
You know what I just kind of like gathered right now? You said often that a lot of people they either do things for money or they do things for attention, but the attention feels empowering.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say power, so we have a lot of people nowadays that want to do things for money.
Yep.
They want to do things for power. People don't want to value respect.
Yeah.
And when you have respect,
Mm-hmm.
you have more power that can earn you limitless money.
That's true.
And I think that we got the game messed up because we value so many people who have money and power but no respect.
Right.
But we don't want to value the people that have respect that got them money and power.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kendrick, because he kind of said that, in his in his thing. Well, he did. He said, money, power, respect, but the last one is better.
Yeah.
And
that takes a person that understands the long game. That also takes wisdom to understand that, because like the tangible things are the things that if you're dealing with your self-esteem, you're trying to figure out who you are. Respect is not something that you can, like, it's something that you can feel, but it's not something you get an immediate gratification upon, right? It's something that's built over time. So you pull up in that brand new something and it's immediate gratification. The girls is coming out. A friend of mine just got a brand new Maserati, and he's like, I pull up in this, I get all the girls. Duh. I'm like, that's not a big deal. But to him, he wants that immediate gratification. The same thing with power. When when you see what people will do, I've seen and I'm definitely like all for women. Like I said, I've done Charm and Etiquette. I love empowering women. I've seen women do stupid stuff because, like, okay, I've been in studios and the girls will just start. I was at a party for this is what I first learned. Because at first I was like, men are the problem. It's men. Hip hop is misogynistic. I was like writing essays about it because I've always been a writer. I was really like, black men are just not respecting women. I moved to Atlanta, started representing rappers. I was like, it's not them, it's us. I went to a party that T.I. and Michael Vick had. I have never seen such beautiful women doing things that nobody had asked them to do.
Yep.
No one had even asked them to do it. I'm like, at least be smart. Like, wait until there's a dollar amount offered. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you looking for right now? Because you're just in violation. And it's like a thirst and a hunger to just be near. Like, you're not going to take him home. What are you? You just want his attention for the moment. It's wild. And that happens and so I can understand as a man how that could get addictive and also boring
Yeah. Yeah.
because they'll do whatever. They'll do whatever. So, okay, so let me see you do this. Let me see you do that.
And then and he's up.
It ups. So, I mean, but that let me know that it's not necessarily, men are not always the motivators behind women's bad behavior. Sometimes it's just them, just like we talked about men wanting to show off to other men. Sometimes women want to show other women, I'm the baddest in the room. I can get it. And I'm like, but what are you getting? This is going to be a very quick, very unsatisfying situation.
Validation is like a disease at this point.
But it's because you're not happy with yourself. Because there's no way that you should be taken. I would be like, he didn't even ask you to take off your clothes yet. Like, at least just hold on until he asks. Let him ask. Because how is he going to value it if you just do it? And I've also been on, when videos were a big deal. When I first moved there, we were still doing a lot of videos, right? And I remember thinking, because I moved there and I used to work corporate, so I thought, I'll go to a video set and all the guys are going to be just, I thought, oh my God, you'll lose your husband in one of these things. First of all, because guys they're numb because they see naked women doing crazy things all the time because they have money or because they're around money. I'm not T.I. or Michael Vick. I'm just hanging out. And I'm going to get some of that just because I'm associated with it, right? So
it's hard to say no.
They're not going to say no. Why would they? They can't outrun it. Like, I can't. It's too fast.
Who am I to say no to God's child?
I'm not a dream killer. If she wants to do this, let her do what she wants to do. I can't even blame them. But my point is, like, the men don't. I remember I was sitting down. We were at a video shoot with T.I., Scrappy, and a bunch. This was like early 2000s. And I thought that they were all going to just be enamored with the girls because the girls were beautiful. Myself and we were publicists on set, junior publicists on set. And they were all sitting around talking. We were just talking, really, really talking. And it's like, wow, they actually can see through it. Now, when it came time to party, they party. But really, men are not as driven by one physical motivator as women think. And I think you have to understand what it is about you that's dope outside of your curves and your sex in order for you to think that he would.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually said this on a podcast here before, or on an episode here before. Women have to find another way to compete with each other rather than getting naked. Because
don't compete, just be you.
Well, yeah, I think competition. Well, that is a part of competing, right? If they compete by being themselves,
yeah.
The problem is if you lose, it hurts your ego, right? Because you're like, damn, I wasn't picked,
Right.
But that's okay because that's how you know it really wasn't for you.
Right. That takes a lot of maturity to get to that point.
But like, I don't think that's a maturity thing that we have to wait through years of life. I think that is something that we should be able to instill, I would say within high school, be yourself and whoever's for you is for you. Right. Try it out. And I promise you, if you go the other way, maybe one or two experiences, you'll see how it doesn't work in your favor.
Yeah.
And when that level of competition or that type of competitive spirit stops, whether you're competing to be nude or just to do more, right? To have less.
Right.
Then we can have,
it's going to take like real people like yourself to say that, because what people want to hear is, if I get enough money. I remember one of my guy friends told me, actually it was a guy I was dating, told me
Yeah.
this. He said, my grandfather told me, if I get enough money, I can have any woman I want.
Mm-hmm.
Which is true to an extent, but that woman probably is not going to want you.
But that's not a man, though.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, that's what we want to hear. So a woman wants to hear, I want to be so bad I can get any dude in the room. Well, that's not real. And so someone needs to say, that's not really, like, really what's for you is going to be for you. And anytime you have to change who you are for something, it's probably not really for you. But that's not the answer that people want to hear. People want to hear, I can ball out and get what I want. I sleep when I die. Like, if you sleep when you die, you're going to be sick. That is dumb. That is stupid. But that sounds great.
But I'm not gonna lie. The thing is, another lie that's told, and this is the part that's told by men, is like, money is what matters. You feel me? So like, men think that money is what matters, and although it does, and I'm never gonna take it away,
right?
But there's a lot. Well, here's a lie for you women. There's a lot of men that hide behind his money, and when you learn that men are hiding behind money, he doesn't really know who he is.
We already know that.
Yeah, but they still do it.
No, we know that we're using him. So women know that. In fact, that plays into our game. So that's women know. We're well aware that
you
men
can tell
hide
which
behind.
one is.
Yeah, just like you can tell the insecure women, we can tell the insecure men, because the insecure man will offer. That's what so many guys get upset about, tricking. A lot of times, just like I said, the girls are getting naked without being asked. Men are offering to do things without a woman asking. And I'm just like, I've always been a girl that works, get her own. When I first got there, do you know how many guys offered? They offer to do, like, I'm not even asking. It's very hard for me to turn down.
Yeah.
It's not really fair for me to do that.
Who might tell God's child no?
Yeah, no. So I'm saying men do the same thing. And so when a man doesn't know you, but he's just offering to pay bills, or he's offering to, I was telling my friend earlier, when my son got ready to go to college, I was trying to come up with $20,000 like quick. I was like, I gotta get this money. And this guy was like, that I didn't like, was like, I'll give you the money. And so one of my other guy friends was like, tell him to give it to you in cash, like right now. So why would you offer to pay $20,000? Like and he knew I wasn't into him. So that's not on me. That's on him. And I know he's insecure. So I mean, women, we already know that. You're not telling us a secret. We know, and we use that to our benefit. So a lot of times women, that's what I tell men, that I probably shouldn't, because I'm not having my sister's back. But really, like, any girl you got to buy really don't want you.
Thank you, Crystal. I was trying to say it, but maybe it's better when you say it. They're not
gonna like me to say it, because I really did go against girl code, because we. Well, I mean, it gets what they want, because men are. We know that if a man is insecure, you can play to his ego, and he'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
But except make you his, right? He's not gonna necessarily marry you, but he'll give you money and stuff, because that's what he needs to do to feel manly.
Feel big.
Yeah.
Little guy. We've always glorified the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so our downfall usually stems from the top down, right? And it's the people that we voted in power, whether or not we realize we voted in power. We're the one who bought those CDs.
Right.
We're the one who paid for that music. We're the one who put you in a position to have this money.
We have been taught. That's why I remember I had the honor of interviewing Cicely Tyson, like 6 months before she died.
Wow.
And I asked her about the Me Too movement, because I was just like, I know being in entertainment in Atlanta, it was not safe for a woman. Like, you come in a room, you're uncomfortable, and you're groped. You can't say anything because other people aren't going to want to work with you if you say something. So I was a little bit better because I was older and I was married, and I knew I had 2 kids. Like, I wasn't necessarily the target, but I still got a lot of things that made me uncomfortable, and I had a lot of people I had to check or just stop working with, you know what I mean? But I remember asking her, what did she think about the Me Too movement? And she said, that's not our business, right? She said, that's not white women's business, and our business are 2 different things. Our culture is different. So do you know how many Black women were assaulted, raped, but we just don't talk? We would never come out the way some others has. And some things, I think, I understand it, but I also think it's part of keeps us stuck, because there's this unspoken loyalty to each other, because we know that not many of us, if Diddy and Jay-Z are 2 billionaires and we only have a few, I don't want them to go down. Like that makes me look bad. So I can't say anything. And I understand where that loyalty comes, but it also
It,
keeps us down.
of course, it honestly, again, it'll only lead us further astray. And we gotta get. I pray, and hopefully, within this my lifetime, everybody who doesn't belong in a position of power won't. Right? That's probably never gonna happen. But at least balance it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like it's a 9-1 odd. The 9-1 that are with the shits, right? That are doing things that will go against a lot of people's morals. And there's one person who's standing there and he's like, I can't, or she is like, I can't fight that fight with 9 of them.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I would pray that it at least gets to a 5-4 or like a 5-on-5. And it's not going to until we start having these different types of things. Now, I do know that there's a lot of consent that goes on in these places. I also do know that there's some that aren't really consented, right? And the second that we start to stop enabling our successors who are actually our demise, that's the second that we'll be able to be at a better, position as a community. Because if we, like, for example, we're seeing on a smaller scale, we're seeing a lot of black fathers that are now, coming to the forefront and being good fathers, right? You know what happened? Black fathers had to check other black men. Yo, if you're not gonna take care of your kids, you can't be my friend. I'm definitely not gonna be around you, and you got two kids at home that you don't even see, that's or at somebody else's house.
Right.
And so after a while, now you're seeing the tides shift. We're all kind of collectively. I thought it was so funny. I just saw a dude doing a remix, doing like one of those like freestyles with his daughter in his hand. And I thought it was funny. It was it was cool. He was saying like, yo, my daughter's bad and she don't want to listen. But that's kind of funny because it is what it is. But now we're actually seeing that being the spotlight. So it's gonna take time, but I do think everything will weed itself out. And unfortunately, what's gonna happen is, the people who are in those positions of power that are doing with the shits things, they're gonna burn their resources and favors or bridges and favors, and eventually that's gonna open up spots for then the people to come and fill them. And now I just hope that we have people that are going to actually hold us to a higher standard, and gonna value the respect and not the money, because anybody can pay you to do anything.
That's hard.
Money and fame.
It's a very hard thing to fight. But I do think,
like Nipsey Hussle was with he had respect.
Yeah.
And then he had money and fame. But he had fame from respect.
A one of one. But I do think that things are changing. And I do have to credit the younger generation, because there's the funny thing is, because they don't have respect. Like a lot of them don't respect. They don't respect anything. So it's like, I'm not going to keep your secret. F you. I'm saying what I want to say. And I actually really admire that, because for years we were just like, oh, don't say nothing. Like,
master.
Yeah. And it's like you said, consent is a funny thing, because if you're told you're not going to have this opportunity unless you do this, then you will consent, but it's not necessary. It's made under duress, but that's also some accountability that you have to take for yourself. And I think that's what Cicely Tyson was saying. She was like, we don't, as black women, we just are different in the way we do things, right? Yeah. But I think that the regime is changing, because I said young people don't have that same loyalty to a system that has not served them well.
Yeah.
So it's like, you want us to be quiet, but why? I'm not. And so I admire that, and I'm glad, but it is uncomfortable. It's hard to see people. It broke my heart to see what happened with Bill Cosby, but it needed to happen. You know what I mean? Like, to the extent, I don't know everything, but I'm just saying, if somebody is doing things like that, then they need to be held accountable. Even with R. Kelly, like, we can admire the art, but we have to say, yes, this person has done something because it was probably done to them. Most of the people in the industry that are with the shits were probably done to them when they were trying to get in, or they were trying to do things. So it's just a trickle down effect. But I do think in order for things to change, there have to be people that are not connected and don't feel a loyalty to that. and really are willing to stand up and make things uncomfortable because like I said earlier, like you have to be uncomfortable to grow. So I do think we're growing, and I can say being a woman in entertainment, because I did not want my daughter in the business. I was just like, no, because I seen girls get naked in the studio, having sex in the studio, in the sound booth, to be able to stay in the room, like, and I didn't want my daughter to be around that. And of course, my daughter wanted to be a part of the music industry. But I can say now she's a DJ, and there are other female DJs that put her on. There are other female DJs that have her back. You know what I mean? And so that wasn't the case. It was very male dominated and very much a thing of you're not getting in this door unless you get on your knees. Like that is not, yeah, that's just real. So of course, I didn't want her to have to deal with that. So me seeing other women reach out and grab her and say that are younger and say, we got you. Like that's cool to me. So I think things are changing, and her generation, they're not going to be quiet. They're going to go to Instagram and they're going to keep talking. So in that way, I think it's positive because it's really shaking up something that really shouldn't have. We just had created a really toxic system.
Well, I think it goes to show again with just what has happened, right? The people who had power are losing power. It's like holding on to a rope, but you can only hold the rope for so long before it starts to slip.
Yeah.
Right. And I think at this point, like social media, one of the beautiful things about social media is it allows you to literally create a business, a lucrative business at that, without having to sacrifice some of your own ethics. Right. You don't need that door anymore.
You don't need the gatekeepers that were often, because you're in a situation where you were there before the wave, right? You were able to be there before. But I do think that the interesting thing is like younger people are always gonna be more creative and be fresher, right? Because that's just how it goes. So that's why you see people that are older go back and get younger people to, click up with them. Yeah, or just to represent them or be, artists go back and try to connect with the young person, do a collab with them because it connects them with that audience. But the reality is that only works to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like, okay, like for instance, I'm going to use Diddy and Carisha. We know that definitely made him look cool, right? Because he has a history of like going and connecting with the hot thing. So you put her on Revolt, because Diddy not necessarily what people in their 20s was checking for. Like, so you go get the City Girl. That's the most ratchet, she's connected, and that feels raw. That makes me feel authentic. And you be out with her. Some of that rubs off on you, but not really. Not really. Like it looks like that, but it doesn't really work.
It doesn't. And so that's why I'm saying, like, when it sticks, it's different.
Yeah.
I remember 6-7 years ago, I was in the studio with Jadakiss, right? He was on FaceTime with Chief Keef. And he hung up the phone. He said, when you get older, you always got to stay in tune with the youth because they have it. And that's how you last longer. If you look at Drake's career,
my God,
right?
It's a great example of that. Yeah.
Drake has always been on what's new. And he's always been the one to Sexy Red.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. And exactly. So now who is the power? That's what I'm trying to say. The power is in the youth.
They don't know it. They don't have the money.
Exactly.
They don't have this. So of course, like look at that situation with Carisha. Of course, it's a good look for her to be with him, but really he was benefiting more
for her. Yep.
But it doesn't matter because she needed it.
But now look at where they stand. But now what I'm trying to say is you're missing what I'm saying, that the playing field is closer to equal than you think. So without each other, one dies out. And the crazy thing is this: if everybody who was new decided to not work with anybody who was old, the old will phase out, and there would be new leaders amongst it.
No, there would not be new leaders because they're not leaders. They're not leaders.
You think so?
No, they're not trying to. They don't even understand. No.
So who's gonna be the next Drake then?
I don't think there probably will be, because
you don't think there will be?
No. Understand that Drake is Drake is smarter than most people. You know why?
Definitely is.
Because he understands that his career. Look at his career. He understands the long game. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not there. But see, artists now, like I said, I represent TLC. TLC was taught to put on a show. So where you guys probably don't even know what they're doing, right?
Mhm.
They made a lot of money last year. I won't say how much. They're on tour because they know how to find their management is extremely smart. It's like, okay, well, this group of people doesn't necessarily value things that are not popping, but this group of people over here does. And we were taught to put on, to do all the things that will continue to make us popular or continue to make us valuable to that audience. So they sell out. They're doing great. They went to Japan, opened for Janet Jackson. They're making a lot of money, but it's like they understood that in order to do that, I have to create a product that is long lasting. I don't think that young artists today get that at all. Because if I was talking to a friend of mine that manages one of a very popular young artist, and I said, I was working with this school, and I said, hey, I need an artist to come in that the kids will be excited about, but we need it. He got to be able to perform something that is not going to piss the parents off and make the school shut down. He did not have anything like that. That's crazy. You know what I mean? So he's not preparing. He's not preparing for that. So what is he going to do in 10 years? Because that audience is going to grow and they're not going to want to hear what he's talking about right now. I don't know if Booty Hole is Brown is going to be what that audience wants to hear at that time. And how are you going to craft a product that's going to continue to sell? You can find 50,000 people in this city that want to hear Ain't Too Proud to Bed perform the way they remember it when they were young. I don't think, because they remember how that made them feel, it's not the same. And so what I'm saying with Drake is extremely smart and he manages to tap into what's hot and keep it, but he still has a foundation that is solid that most of these young artists don't.
And I agree. But what I will say is what Drake just said, right? I want you guys to understand. In his last biggest song, he was like, they said there would never be another Michael Jackson, but I'm one away from Beat It. And there would always be another Drake.
You say he's one away from Beat It as far as like a record?
No, he's one away from Beat It in terms of the top records.
Okay.
Right? Now, I think just like Michael Jordan and LeBron James, they're not the same people. We're not talking about the actual same people. We're talking about the impact and control that they have.
But I'm talking about the longevity of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's created.
I don't think that artists today, because the goal is not the same. There's no, if you listen to managers of artists that have catalogs that enable them to have a career that they can still do what they do for years, is different than if you talk to a manager of somebody that just blew up.
Yeah.
Accidentally. I got a hot record.
Off of TikTok.
And I got maybe another hot record, but I'm not going to have a 20-year career off that record. Not many artists do, but the ones that do, there's a reason that they do. And so I think with Drake, I don't think there's going to be another. First of all, I think it's too open. Like Drake came like right when things were changing.
Yeah.
There's no superstars. How are y'all going to have superstars? Because everybody is popular. Like I got girls that will tell me because I have 2 million followers because people like my ass that I'm just as good as Halle Berry. I have more followers than Halle Berry and she's an actual actress with Oscars. Like that's ridiculous. So you're not going to have superstars like that. You're not going to have a Drake because you're going to have 10 people that blow up and have amazing records, but they're not going to have longevity. Drake is Drake because he's been around for 20 years.
So let's look at Nicki Minaj. Right,
she's back.
And who is one of the people who they've been comparing her to, who has actually sustained 7 years? No,
Cardi.
And
Cardi's gonna have a long career.
But this is what. But okay, but understand what I'm saying. There will always be one, right? I don't think there's gonna be many, but Nicki, same thing that happened to Nicki with Cardi B. There's a Cardi B that once Nicki does fizzle out, Cardi B would probably take it.
Have the same, but I'm not saying there's not going to be people that be extremely popular. I'm saying that the appetite of the consumer is so different. Consumers don't buy into someone like we used to buy into. You know why Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson? Because we bought into him as a person. I didn't buy into him as.
We didn't buy into Drake as a person.
Yes, we did.
Who?
Girls.
Well, I mean,
that's who he was after.
Maybe you guys did.
We did.
Listen, I can't talk about us. I can only talk about us.
Yeah. Drake. Women.
And he was also endorsed by the best artists at one period of time.
Lil Wayne.
You know what I'm saying?
But and again, girls and everybody knows that women are the biggest consumers, and so men.
Are they the biggest ones?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so all right, so let's tell. I actually did see this on Instagram.
Okay.
I was doing some research, right?
Mhm.
But by the way, I want to say I really enjoyed our conversation today. So you did mention that some things that we spoke about are in your book, and this book is titled "The Alpha Female is
It's not him.
Not Him, Is You,"
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And what inspired you to write this?
So I think really what you said earlier, like why I wanted to come and talk to you about just the lies that women are told, because I think that my own journey as an independent woman that had been after going through divorce and working on my own, I kind of had adopted this idea that I don't need a relationship, right? I don't need a man. I don't need a relationship. Not because I didn't want one, but because I didn't think I could have what I wanted. And so I think that women a lot of times are told that if a man doesn't come packaged exactly as I want him, that it's not worth pursuing. And that's what I had bought into. And I went through a period where I had to really understand and deprogram myself and realize that I had adopted that mindset because I was hurt and I was afraid of getting hurt. But it also wasn't true because nobody really wants to spend their life alone.
Yeah.
So I had to realize that my thought process was keeping me single.
Which is amazing. If you had to, I have one question, right? This is
Okay.
like I ask the authors that I actually am interested in this question.
Okay.
If you had to pick one chapter
Mm-hmm.
that's your favorite chapter, I mean, obviously, it probably is your whole favorite book, right? But if you had to pick one chapter, which chapter would it be?
That's hard because I mean, it's really like, okay, it's a lot of lessons here that I think women can relate to. But I think probably the most important thing is identifying self-love.
See how God works?
Did you pick that chapter?
And I'm not lying.
Oh my God, that is that is crazy.
And I'm not lying.
That's crazy.
And that's the first thing I looked at. I was like, wow, identifying self-love. I was like, this might be a good one. And you literally said it.
That is weird. That's weird.
It's not weird. It's real.
It's real. But I think the reason that a lot of women can't believe that there could be a good man that could actually treat them right and value them is because, especially alpha females or career-driven females, we're taught to be proud of ourselves based on our accomplishments. So if you don't love yourself unconditionally, it's hard for you to imagine someone else could. So I was so hard on myself if I didn't accomplish things. I didn't just spend time loving Crystal, even when Crystal wasn't performing at the highest level. And so that was my insecurity, right? And so you try to look the best, be in the gym, do all these things, but none of us are perfect. So you're asking for a perfect man trying to act like you're perfect. And the reality is none of us are perfect. And so when you accept your flaws, it's easier for you to accept someone else having flaws and you guys coming together and working on them. So I think self-love is really, really, really important to anyone's journey, but specifically for women, because like we talked about earlier, if you don't really love yourself, you're not going to attract the right kind of man. You are going to attract the wrong man. And then you're going to say, men are evil, men are horrible. But no, sis, it's really that you are attracting them because of what you're putting out.